So after that smash and grab victory against Everton at Goodison Park on Sunday, we now look forward to our third ever Europa League group stage game, our second one at home. We've had a superb start, as everyone knows, to our Europa League campaign, and this time we welcome Belgium side Genk, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by Tim Oliver from the TerrilTalks Podcast to give us the full lowdown on everything Genk and help us just understand a little bit more about what we're due to expect from the Belgium outfit on Thursday night. Tim Oliver, thanks very much for joining us.
Hey, James. Thanks a lot for bringing me on. It's a pleasure.
Before we start, just let us know a little bit about a podcast where our users or our listeners can if we do have some listeners in Belgium, so if anyone wants to check your podcast out, where can they find you?
You can find us on TerrilTalks.castos.com. That's actually like the main online player we have. Otherwise, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the usual bunch. And we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just follow us, Terril Talks. That's TERRIL, and then Talks in one word.
And it's a purely about Genk, or is it about Belgian football in general?
Yeah. For the moment, we're still the only KRC Genk podcast in Belgium. Also the first one. So yeah, we enjoy a pretty broad listening base when it comes to Genk fans. Pretty happy about that. And people inside the club are also fans. So that's pretty neat.
Great stuff. Well, looking at to Thursday night, see, as we know, West Ham have had a faultless start so far in our first Europa League campaign. Genk, a late winner on the opening week game against Vienna, and then disappointing 3-0 defeat to Zagreb on the second time round. But in the league, Genk is sixth. Looks like West Ham are in the Premier League, and in the Belgian league, you're sixth in the league. How's the season gone so far for you guys?
Well, the season started off pretty decent. We were playing some good football, getting some results in, but we never really managed to become that stable top tier side that we want to become. Because last year we won the cup, and this year over the summer we managed to keep all of our best players. We've even got some reinforcements coming in. So on paper we've got maybe the best squad we've had in years, and so everybody's expecting a lot. And then to see that we're just sixth right now is actually a bit disappointing. We've got such a broad squad that the coach can easily rotate and prioritize other games when there's a big European fixture coming. But yeah, in the last 5 games, we've only won once. We've lost the 4 others, including the game against Zagreb. And the biggest issue is our defense. We've been letting in goals left and right, while last season our defense was one of our true strengths. So to be honest, we're not traveling to West Ham, to the Olympic Stadium, with a lot of confidence. To be fair.
So what is the expectation then for the fans? Because it sounds like you're in a very similar situation as West Ham, that got the best group of players you've had for quite some time. Competing in at least the top half of the table, but trying to push on. You're playing in Europe. Our expectations of West Ham fans are just, let's at least compete in the top half of the table and then see if we can go further. Is that similar, or are you kind of hoping, given you've gipped all your best players over the summer, kind of hoping for top 4 and beyond?
Yeah, beyond, especially if we compare it, with KRC Genk last year we won the cup and we were vice champions. So if you manage to improve your whole squad, you would expect us to at least make a run for the title. And that would be to rival Club Brugge, who are really exceeding themselves and exceeding all expectations, also in the Champions League. So they're a very good outfit. But then if we have to compete with them and we're only in sixth, we're just as many points away from the first place as we are from the last place. So we're actually, when it comes to points, we're right in the middle. And I believe the last, if you look at the points right now, we've got 17 points out of the 33 that we could have gotten. So that's disappointing that we're not in a position to compete for the title. Okay, the season's pretty long, and I'll save you the details. But the Belgian league format is pretty weird. So actually, you can start playing really good in March and still make a good run for the title. But for the moment, we're looking very far from that. Confidence is at a very low point for the
I was
moment.
going to say, because you're only 5 points off the top after just
Yeah,
11 games. So
yeah.
it's not all over a doom and gloom just yet.
No, it's not. But if you really know all the things that happened, the amount of last minute equalizers and last minute goals that beat us. I mean, before the international break, we played a game against a much smaller team, both economically and with quality. We were leading 1-2 until the 89th minute against 10 players, so we were one man up, and we lost 3-2. We conceded 2 goals in the last 3 minutes against 10, against a much weaker side who are playing good football this season, but still, those are things you have to take home. And I think we made the calculations. Last minutes or last 5 minutes, let's say, equalizers and goals cost us 16 points. So if we could just take it, if we could up our game management, as one would say, kick out a ball or create or commit a foul to just stop the game and reorganize. If we would be a bit smarter on that, yeah, we could have had a lot more points than what we have right now. I mean, we might have even been top of the table, and things would have been very different. Um, but now that's not the case. So last weekend we lost 2-0 at Charleroi, which is always a difficult away. I think it might be the rainy night in Stoke equivalent in Belgium. But still, the way we lost to a Charleroi team that weren't superior to us, and then the lack of mentality and the lack of spirits is starting to creep into the players' heads. So they were not able, after we went down 1-0, they were not able to get themselves back. And the second half was again one of the most atrocious things that I've witnessed from Genk in a long time.
Wow, blimey. Well, you mentioned briefly earlier about keeping hold of your best players, and one of those players has been heavily linked with a move to West Ham, particularly from the beginning of the summer, but going into January, in Paul Onuachu. Is it 11 in 15 in all competitions already this season? Also linked with Southampton as well. And West Ham seem to be, I mean, we're desperate to buy a striker, so it looks like David Moyes wants him. Sort of, what can you tell us about him? Because he's relatively unknown to fans in England, and I think West Ham fans are looking at his stats and going, "Cool, yeah, wouldn't mind him at West Ham."
He would be a great addition to your team, to probably any Premier League side. He's a true phenomenal. Like, you see him, he's like 2 meters tall. He weighs, I don't know, 90 kilo. So you would expect, like, okay, he's a up front, he's a target man. He just hangs around in the box, waits for the cross. But the way he drops into the half space where you would expect 10, and the way he deviates balls, he like, sometimes he could, like, with one touch, play a Kevin De Bruyne like pass to one of the flanks, and he would start to run towards the edge of towards the penalty dot, let's say, and he would get across and he would finish it off. So he's actually, I mean, he starts attacks and finishes them all by himself. But you can also place ball towards him in his feet. One guy behind him, two guys behind him, they just can't pull him down. They can't get the ball away from him. He knows how to dribble. I've seen him dribble guys with, like, dummies and step overs. He really does that. I'm not saying that he's going to do it to the defenders in the Premier League, but the potential is probably there. So good with his feet, good positioning, great passing, and then headers. If you give off 5 great crosses in one game, which we fail to do for some reason right now, at least one of them is going to hit the back of the net. So when he came to our team from the Danish side Midtjylland, they said, he became a cult player at Midtjylland. He's doing the same here as well. Week after week we saw him play, and even when our game or the way we played started to deteriorate as well, he was still playing his match and scoring goals and pulling us through. But now, he needs he needs the passes to come through. He needs the crosses to come through, because he can't do everything on his own. But I'm pretty sure that with the talent that you've got in midfield, and maybe he can steal some things of Marcus and Antonio on training. I think West Ham would be it would be a great next destination for him, and we will be very proud if we see him do it.
Well, that's some appraisal. I think pretty much our listeners will be desperate for David Moyes and David Sullivan to get in the market in January to sign Paul Onuachu after that. Let's look ahead to Thursday night. How do you see this one playing out? And kind of what you're expecting to experience at London Stadium?
Well, I'm going to try to do this as balanced as I can, and to be respectful of my own team. That is, but like I said, the confidence of the fans is at an all-time low. Ever since I think after our last game, the game we lost in against 10 guys in at a time. I said, like, man, West Ham's the big game next. I think we're gonna get a thrashing, like 4-5-0. If we continue to be as slow in our build-up as we are right now, and if the defensive stability is not changed, if the coach stubbornly keeps on using his same approach, his same formation against guys like Marcus Antonio, Declan Rice, Mark Noble, then we're gonna have an absolute thrashing. Unless if I don't know, if he does like a good group session with everybody and tries to get everybody on the same line, which we're losing all hope, because the reaction of players when they're subbed off yesterday said enough as well, that we fear, we don't say it is because we don't have any eyes in the locker room, of course, but we fear that he might be losing control of the players, or over the entire squad. So for you West Ham fans, yeah, you couldn't we couldn't meet at a better time for you, maybe, but for us it's it was the big prestige game as well. You can go to London to watch a football game. That's good enough as well, but to do it, at West Ham, sadly enough, it's no longer at the bowling ground, but it's still good enough. Yeah, man. I think it's going to be a thrashing.
Wow.
You weren't expecting that, or
wasn't expecting that at all. I mean, I think West Ham fans were looking at this game going, okay, with Zagreb, we looked at as probably the toughest game in the group for us.
Yeah.
But then second to that was Genk, and we were like, you're used to playing in Europe, more so than the likes of Vienna or anything like that, and so we were looking at it going, okay, this is probably the second toughest game we're going to face, and so for you to come out and say all of that, I think it kind of just sways what my expectations were going into this one. I was expecting a very tough, tight game. Our predictions on the podcast have been, Will, the co-host, has said he'd be happy with a 1-1 draw.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe we might have to rethink those based on what you just said there. But what?
Well,
go on.
I don't know. Maybe the players. A lot of the players are really, like, they're devoted to Genk, and they know that they're here for a while. But if they have the chance to, get the spotlight on them, and if you can do it at West Ham, they might have a bit of extra motivation. So a 1-1 draw, I'll sign for that immediately. But yeah, as you said, on paper we might have been like the second or third best team in this group, and if we would have had our form that we had in April and May of last year. I could even say we could give you a decent run for your money at the Olympics. So that's how fast things change in football, and that's one of the drawbacks that you have when you have a young group of players like we do. I think the average age is like 22.9 on the pitch even. So when you have a young group like that and things start going wrong, they miss, an older guy, a leader who says, like, come on, guys, it's not over yet, and all those things. But yeah, that's what we don't have right now. So, form's going down. Individually, the players aren't also reaching the levels that they were reaching at the end of last season, at the beginning of this season. So, it's too different. And again, we're not we've been lacking the consistency. Like one year we're playing heavily football, and the other we stumble into a crisis. And if this thing doesn't get turned around quickly, then we will be in a crisis. And we've got a pretty hefty schedule. So after West Ham, we face Gent with a T at the end. It's a
Mhm.
different team, different city. And they're also, they're a pretty good, they're a pretty decent side, and they have everything in their arsenal to come to our stadium on Sunday and beat us. And then, yeah, we'll have lost several games in a row. And then I'm expecting something to change. But yeah, I think the schedule is very feisty. But it brings us first to the Olympic this Thursday. I'll be attending the game as well.
Right.
Starting to, yeah, I booked it when we were still playing decent football, but now I'm starting to rue my own decision. So yeah.
Well, before I get a score prediction from you, I just wanted to touch on something. I was doing some research earlier, and I don't know whether you know, but West Ham pride ourselves on our academy. We've got a rich history of bringing through young players and developing them into world class talent. The likes of Frank Lampard, Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole. Even before then, Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, Martin Peters. I was doing some research on Genk, and it's very very similar situation with your guys. I was looking at some of the players that come through your academy over the years. Christian Benteke, Stephen Defoe, who had a spell at Burnley in the Premier League, Leandro Trossard is at Brighton, Timothy Castagno's at Leicester, and then the likes of Thibaut Courtois, Kevin De Bruyne, Yannick Carrasco, Divock Origi. Some really good players coming through your academy. Is that something that's celebrated at Genk?
Yeah, absolutely. They're really proud of that, and rightly so. It's in the DNA of the club. It's really ingrained in how the club is being run. There were, like, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago, the youth accommodation was, I mean, it was shameful. There was nothing. So they started investing heavily into it, and quickly saw the benefits of having their own youth academy. Because one thing that Genk fans have always found paramount to being a Genk player is having the right mentality. And by having youth players, you have so many years that you can work on that, and you really give them the DNA that you want them to have. So yeah, that's why it's such a cornerstone of the kind of club that we are. And we were a club in a far eastern corner of the country, where you have to do everything on your own, and now it's kind of grown into the business model of the club to not only have great academy players, but also buy players very young, develop them, thanks to the European football that we play, but also thanks to the very professional way of working of the club, which is in Belgian terms exceptional. And yeah, make a profit of those players. So it's been working really well. The professional downside is that after every major success, so after every league title we win, let's say, we lose our best players. This year was different. After the cup, we didn't sell our players, like I explained before. But yeah, they're very proud of what they're doing, of the work they're doing, and as of now, our under 21s are playing in their own league, and the top four at the end of the season will promote to the second professional division in Belgian football for the first time ever. And they are currently at the top of the league with 15 points out of 5 games. So maximum of the points, things are looking really good, and there's some really, really talented guys in the squad again. So expect in about 5 years the first new names to start popping up on the Belgian national team as well. So happy to see that they're working good, and that's something that we'll always cherish, our own youth players.
Brilliant stuff. It's nice. It's nice to have discovered that connection between the two clubs. And so, one player I didn't read out, which I noticed, was Ruud Boffin, who West Ham fans will remember as he was a goalkeeper. He signed for West Ham.
Yeah.
I think he only played like 3 or 4 games quite a while ago now, but he was one of the names that sort of stood out, and I was like, oh, I remember him. Yeah, he was in goal for us a couple of times. So yeah, there's another connection between the two clubs. But let's get a score prediction from you now, Tim Oliver. How do you think this one's going to go? You haven't been too confident. You said you'd snap our arm off for a 1-1. Are you going to go for a 1-1, or is it going to be a defeat?
I saw a summary of your game against Everton, which was really impressive. Good result, also in terms of the league. I mean, you think you had a really great result which you needed. I still say I think we're going to get a thrashing. I'm not expecting big tactical changes to adapt ourselves to the football of West Ham. So I'd say 1-4. Sorry, 4-1.
4-1 to West Ham.
4-1 to West Ham. I think a brace from Antonio for sure. Maybe we'll get a penalty against us by some clumsy defending or like a handball, and that's going to be the thing that kicks everything off, like a VAR penalty. And then I still think we might score like some, I don't know, some lucky individual action, but I don't have any high hopes. But up to our guys to make me a believer.
Wow, we'll certainly take a 4-1 win, definitely. I said 2-1 before, but I'm happy. I'll take that 4-1, obviously, absolutely. But Tim Oliver, thanks very much for joining us, and